Lieutenant Daeho Kim stood frozen at the viewport. His eyes were fixed on the spot where Earth's diplomatic ship had been only moments ago. Now there was nothing but scattered debris floating in the black emptiness of space. The Valkyrie had promised peace talks. They had sent messages about friendship and cooperation. It was all lies. "Sir, we have confirmation. The harmony is gone. All hands lost." The young communications officer's voice shook as he spoke. Daeho nodded stiffly. 53 people, including Earth's top diplomat, had just been killed. This wasn't a mistake. The Valkyrie warship had fired without warning. "Record everything," Daeho ordered. "Then get us back to Earth at top speed." They blew up our ship while waving a white flag. Admiral Jin-Woo Park's fist came down hard on the table. The emergency council meeting had been going for 3 hours, and tempers were high. This cannot stand. The 12 members of Earth's Defense Council sat in a windowless room deep beneath Seoul. The air felt too thick to breathe. President Yoon-ji Choi raised her hand for silence. Unlike the others, her voice remained calm and measured. "What are our options? The Valkyrie fleet is already moving into our solar system." Defense Minister Soo-min Lee pulled up a holographic display showing both fleets. The difference was striking. Earth's ships were outnumbered 5-1. Madam President, a direct confrontation would be bad. Very bad. Their ships have technology we've never seen before. Our weapons might not even hurt them. So we just let them take our planets. Let them kill our people. Jin-Woo was on his feet again. There must be something we can do. Daeho, who had been quiet until now, cleared his throat. There might be. All eyes turned to him. "The Valkyrie think they know us," he continued. "They've studied our broadcasts, our open communications. They think they know how we fight wars, how we build ships, how we make weapons." "What's your point, Lieutenant?" Jin-Woo asked. "My point is, they don't know everything." Daeho looked directly at the president. "They don't know about Ghost Team." The room fell silent. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Ghost Team doesn't exist," said General Tai Yun-yu stiffly. "It's just a rumor." "With respect, General, we all know that's not true." Daeho stood his ground. "Ghost Team exists, and they're exactly what we need right now." President Choi's expression gave nothing away. "Explain." "The Valkyrie expect us to fight with ships, with soldiers in uniform, with military weapons. They're ready for that. They've planned for it. But Ghost Team doesn't fight that way." Jin-Woo's eyes widened as he caught on. They wouldn't see it coming. "Exactly." Daeho nodded. "The Valkyrie flagship is currently orbiting Europa. They've set up a command station there. If Ghost Team can infiltrate it." "How?" interrupted Minister Lee. "The Valkyrie have sensors that can detect any known military hardware, energy signatures from our weapons, even the composite fibers in our combat uniforms." "That's just it," said Daeho with a small smile. "Ghost Team doesn't use any of those things. That's why no one knows what their uniform looks like, because they don't wear one." President Choi leaned forward. "You're proposing we send in Ghost Team to what? Sabotage the Valkyrie command." "More than that." Daeho pulled up a new display showing the internal structure of the Valkyrie flagship. "Intelligence suggests they control their entire fleet from this one station. If we can disrupt their command structure, we might be able to stop the invasion before it starts." "It's a long shot," Jin-Woo admitted, "but it's better than waiting to be slaughtered." The president was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she turned to her chief of staff. "Clear the room. Only Defense Council Level 10 clearance and above may remain." After most of the staff had left, President Choi looked each remaining person in the eye. "What I'm about to authorize doesn't leave this room. Officially, Earth will be preparing for diplomatic talks while mobilizing our conventional forces as a show of strength." She turned to Daeho. "Unofficially, contact Ghost Team. Tell Commander Haejun Kang that he has full authorization. Whatever he needs, And what exactly are we authorizing? Minister Lee asked carefully. The president's gaze was steel. We're authorizing 5 people to save the human race by any means necessary. In an unmarked building 50 kilometers from the council chamber, Commander Hejun Kang's secure phone beeped once. He read the message, then immediately deleted it. "It's time," he said to the empty room. Hejun reached for another phone, a regular civilian model, and sent a text message that contained only a string of numbers. To anyone monitoring, it would look like a wrong number. Within 1 hour, the 5 members of Ghost Team would begin making their way to Seoul. Not in uniform, not carrying weapons, just ordinary people that no one would look at twice. The most dangerous human soldiers in the galaxy were about to go to war, and no one would even know they were there. 24 hours later, Hejun stood in a small plain room 3 levels below a noodle shop in Seoul. The room had no windows. The walls were simple concrete. There was nothing special about this place. Nothing that said military or top secret. And that was exactly the point. 5 people sat on folding chairs in front of him. They wore normal clothes, jeans, t-shirts, light jackets. They could have been office workers, students, or shop clerks. No one would look at them twice on the street. But these 5 people were Ghost Team, the most elite fighting unit Earth had ever created. "Nice haircut, Commander," said Ji-ho-yoon with a small smile. His own shaggy hair fell across his eyes. Ji-ho was their infiltration specialist. He could blend into any crowd, pick any lock, and move through spaces without being seen. He had been a professional thief before the military found him. Had to look respectable for a family wedding. Hejun replied. "A shame I missed it for this." Min Soo Kang snorted. Min Soo was built like a wrestler, with thick arms and hands that looked too big for delicate work. Yet he was their demolitions expert, able to build explosive devices from everyday items. "So what's so important that you pulled us all in with the emergency code?" Hejun tapped a small device on the table. A 3D image of a massive alien ship appeared in the air above them. "The Valkyrie," he said simply. "They destroyed our diplomatic vessel yesterday. They're positioning for a full-scale invasion." "Shit," whispered Ju-won Park, the youngest member of the team. Ju-won was their communications and tech specialist. He could hack almost any system and spoke 7 Earth languages fluently. Now he would need to learn an alien one. "Regular military response?" asked Sun Hai-choi. Once a trauma doctor, now their medical expert and hand-to-hand combat specialist. Her small frame hid remarkable strength. Hejun shook his head. "Not an option. The Valkyrie outmatch us in every conventional way. Our fleet would be destroyed before they fired a single shot." The 5th member of the team, Hai Jin Kwan, hadn't spoken yet. She never spoke much. Her specialty was intelligence gathering and strategic planning. "So they sent us," she said finally. "What's the mission?" Hejun expanded the hologram, showing the interior of the Valkyrie flagship. "This is their command station, currently orbiting Europa. It controls their entire battle network. We believe if we can disrupt it, we might stop the invasion before it starts." "And how exactly do we get onto an alien warship?" Ji-ho asked. "That's the interesting part." Hejun smiled thinly. "They're taking human prisoners, specifically refugees from the outer colonies. Intelligence says they're studying us, trying to understand human adaptability." Min Soo's eyes widened. "We're going in as refugees. No weapons, no gear. The Valkyrie have sensors that can detect any military hardware," Hejun explained. "They can identify the energy signatures from our weapons and even the special fibers in our combat uniforms, but they can't detect regular people with ordinary civilian items." "So what do we use to fight?" Ju-won looked nervous. Sun Hai smiled. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a regular kitchen knife. "We improvise." Hejun nodded. "Exactly. The Valkyrie expect humans to fight in a certain way. They expect uniforms, formations, military weapons. They don't understand that humans can be dangerous with anything. I once saw Sun Hai take down 3 armed men with a ballpoint pen, Jiho said with a grin. There's more, Hejun continued. We have someone on the inside. A civilian technician named Ta Wuxin. He was captured 3 months ago when the Valkyrie first entered our system. He's been feeding us information when he can. Hai Jin studied the hologram carefully. Timeline. 3 days until their main fleet reaches Earth orbit. Hejun said grimly. We launch tonight on a refugee vessel. It's actually carrying real refugees, people who fled when the Valkyrie attacked the Europa mining colony. We'll blend in with them. And once we're on board, Min Su asked, we find Tawu. We gather what we need. And then we bring down their entire command structure. Hejun's voice was calm but firm. Without uniforms, without military weapons, without looking like soldiers at all. They'll never see us coming, Sun Hai said quietly. That's the plan. Hejun turned off the hologram. You have 6 hours to prep. No military items. Nothing that would flag as suspicious for refugees. Think about what ordinary people would grab if they had to flee quickly. Jiho raised an eyebrow. Family photos. A favorite book. Exactly. Hejun nodded. We need to be completely believable. Remember, we're not soldiers going on a mission. We're scared civilians looking for safety. Hiding in plain sight, Hai Jin said with a small nod. It's what we do best. As the team left to prepare, Hejun looked once more at the now empty space where the hologram had been. The fate of Earth rested on 5 people who would carry no weapons, wear no armor, and display no military training whatsoever. And that was exactly why they might succeed. The refugee ship looked like it was barely holding together. Its hull was scratched and dented. One of its engines sputtered, making the whole ship shake. This wasn't part of the act. The ship really was damaged. It had escaped the Valkyrie attack on the Europa mining colony, with barely enough power to reach Earth. Now it limped back toward Europa, carrying 63 refugees who had nowhere else to go. Among them were the 5 members of Ghost Team, each sitting apart from the others, each playing their role. Hejun sat with his back against the cold metal wall. He wore dirty work clothes and clutched a small photo of a family that wasn't his. The cover story was simple. He was a mining engineer who had lost his wife and daughter in the attack. Now he was surrendering to the Valkyrie in hopes of finding their bodies. Across the ship, Sun He moved among the real refugees, checking on the sick and injured. Her medical skills weren't an act. She treated a child's burned arm with gentle hands while keeping her eyes alert for any useful information. Will they kill us? The child's mother asked in a whisper. Sun Hai shook her head. If they wanted us dead, they wouldn't take prisoners. What do they want? To understand us, I think, Sun Hai said truthfully. She had hidden 3 kitchen knives and basic medical tools in her clothing. Nothing that would register as a weapon to alien scanners, but deadly enough in her trained hands. Jiho had made friends with several of the miners. He listened to their stories, learned the details of colony life, absorbed their mannerisms. By the time the ship approached the Valkyrie station, he could pass for a mining technician without question. Min Su had been collecting items since they boarded. A broken lighter, cleaning chemicals from the bathroom, metal scraps from a damaged wall panel. Separately, they were harmless. Together, they could become something dangerous. Ju Wan spent the journey studying the few intercepted recordings of Valkyrie language. His translator device was disguised as a simple hearing aid. The Valkyrie would expect some refugees to have medical devices. Approaching Valkyrie security checkpoint, announced the ship's captain over the crackling speaker system. Everyone remained calm and follow instructions. The refugees huddled closer together. Real fear filled the ship. Ghost Team didn't need to fake their tension. They felt it too. The ship shuddered as it docked with the massive Valkyrie station. Through the small viewport, Hejun could see the alien structure. It was enormous, at least 5 times the size of Earth's largest space station. Its design was strange. angles that seemed wrong to human eyes, materials that shifted color as the light changed. "Remember," Hejun whispered to a frightened man next to him, though his words were really for his team. "Keep your head down. Answer questions simply. Don't resist." The airlock door opened with a hiss. 7-foot-tall insect-like creatures entered the ship. The Valkyrie wore armor that seemed to flow around their bodies like liquid metal. Their multifaceted eyes reflected the scared faces of the humans before them. "All humans will be processed," a mechanical voice translated. "Form a line. Bring only essential personal items." One by one, the refugees were scanned by humming devices that the Valkyrie passed over their bodies. Hejun held his breath when his turn came. The scanner paused over the photo in his hand, then moved on. When Sunhae was scanned, the device lingered over her medical pouch. A Valkyrie soldier clicked its mandibles together and spoke. "Medical supplies," the translator said. "Primitive, inefficient. They're all I have." Sunhae replied, her eyes downcast, submissive. The Valkyrie moved on. Ju-Won's hearing aid was examined closely. For a moment, Hejun thought they might be discovered. Then the Valkyrie made a sound that might have been dismissal. "Damaged human," it said. "Requires assistance device." Ju-Won nodded meekly, playing the part perfectly. As they were led into the station, Hejun caught the eyes of his team one by one. None of them had been identified as anything other than what they appeared to be: frightened, helpless refugees. The Valkyrie saw exactly what they expected to see. They never thought to look for soldiers because no soldier would come unarmed, without a uniform, without military equipment. That was exactly what made Ghost Team so dangerous. Inside the massive station, surrounded by enemy forces, their real mission was about to begin. The Valkyrie sorted the refugees into groups. Men and women who had worked in the mines were sent to one area. Those with technical skills went to another. Families with children were led to a third section. Ghost Team was split up exactly as they had planned. Hejun was put with the technical workers. The room was large and filled with broken human equipment that the Valkyrie wanted fixed. About 30 humans worked under the watch of 4 Valkyrie guards. Hejun kept his head down and pretended to examine a damaged mining drill. His eyes scanned the room, searching for one face among the many. "That drill is beyond repair," said a quiet voice beside him. "Try the one on the next table." Hejun looked up. A thin man with tired eyes stood there, holding a box of tools. This was Ta-Wu Shin, their inside man. "Thanks," Hejun said simply. Neither man showed any sign that they knew each other. Ta-Wu handed him a tool. "I'm Ta-Wu. I've been here 3 months." Hejun just arrived. Around them, others worked and talked softly. The Valkyrie guards stood by the door, their strange eyes watching everything but understanding little about human behavior. 3 months is a long time," Hejun said. "Long enough to learn the ways of this place," Ta-Wu replied. He leaned closer, pretending to look at the drill. "When the shift ends, use the bathroom in corridor B7. Third stall has a loose panel. I've left something there." Hejun nodded slightly. "How many guards rotate through this section?" 12, on 4-hour shifts. They're creatures of habit, same patrol routes, same times, every day." "And the command center?" Tai-Wu's hands kept working on the equipment while he talked. "Central Spire, level 47. Security is heaviest around their quantum communications array. That's what controls their entire fleet. Weaknesses. They need us to help them understand human technology. They've captured plenty of our stuff, but they don't fully understand how it works. That's why they keep us alive." Ta-Wu pointed to a section of the drill as if showing Hejun how to fix it. "And they don't understand how humans think. They expect us to behave like them. Logical, orderly, predictable." Hejun almost smiled. "We're not that. No, we're not." For the first time, a hint of emotion crossed Ta-Wu's face. 2 days ago, They executed a man for trying to escape. They expected the rest of us to become more obedient out of fear. Did you? On the surface, yes, but it made every human here burn with anger. We're all looking for ways to fight back now, even the ones who were cooperating before. This was valuable information. Hajun filed it away. How many humans are on this station? About 500, mostly from the mining colonies, some from captured ships. Ta Wu glanced at the guards. Your group wasn't the first to surrender. The Valkyrie think humans give up easily. They don't understand that sometimes surrender is a strategy, not an ending. A loud buzzer sounded through the room. Shift change. Get to that bathroom, Ta Wu whispered. And find Sun Hai in medical. She needs to know that the air filtration system for the whole station runs through the medical bay. The Valkyrie have sensitive breathing organs. They filter every particle from their air. Hajun raised an eyebrow slightly. That could be useful. The workers began filing out of the room toward the eating area. Hajun joined the line but took a wrong turn down corridor B7. The bathroom was empty. Hajun checked for cameras before entering the third stall. He found the loose panel easily and removed it. Inside was a small package wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a data chip, small enough to hide under his tongue if needed, and a hand-drawn map of the station marked with guard posts and security systems. Hajun memorized the map, then hid the chip in the hem of his shirt. He replaced the cloth in the wall panel, making it look untouched. That night, in the dim lights of the sleeping area, Hajun passed near the bunks of his team members. He never stopped to talk to them. His hand brushed against Sun Hai's as they passed in the narrow space between beds. The chip transferred from his palm to hers. Medical bay, he whispered so quietly only she could hear. Air filtration. She gave no sign that she had heard, but he knew she would find a way to examine the air system. Across the room, Jai-Ho was telling stories to a group of refugees, making them laugh for the first time since their capture. The Valkyrie guards watched with confusion. They didn't understand human humor, or why these captured creatures would laugh despite their situation. They didn't understand that laughter could be a weapon too, one that kept hope alive and built trust among the prisoners. The plan was in motion. 5 ordinary-looking people, hidden among refugees, were about to bring down an alien empire, without a single uniform or military weapon among them. 2 days passed. Ghost Team worked separately, each playing their role perfectly. To the Valkyrie, they were just 5 more human refugees, scared, obedient, and harmless. In the medical area, Sun Hai had gained the trust of the Valkyrie medical officer. The tall insect-like alien was studying human biology and found Sun Hai's knowledge useful. Your healing methods are primitive but interesting, the Valkyrie said through its translator as Sun Hai treated a man with a broken arm. We work with what we have. Sun Hai replied humbly, keeping her eyes down. The Valkyrie medical officer turned away to examine a screen. Sun Hai quickly placed a small cloth bundle behind a loose panel near the air filtration system. The bundle contained a mixture of human medicines ground into a fine powder, harmless to humans, but when mixed with the chemical the Valkyrie used to clean their air, it would create a gas that would make them sleepy and confused. Meanwhile, Min-Su had been collecting materials from all over the station. A bit of wire here, some cleaning fluid there. He hid small catches in places only humans would look, inside a broken toilet, behind a human-height mirror too low for the Valkyrie to use, under a loose floor tile in the kitchen. Jai-Ho had mapped every air duct, maintenance tunnel, and service corridor that a human could fit through but a 7-foot Valkyrie could not. He never wrote anything down. He simply remembered. Ju-1 spent his time near the communication stations, listening and learning. His hearing aid translator was working perfectly. The Valkyrie never suspected that he could understand every word they said. Fleet will reach Earth orbit in 24 hours, he overheard one Valkyrie officer tell another. The humans have pulled their ships back to their moon. They think they can hide there. Ju-Won's heart beat faster. Only 1 day left. That night, Ghost Team finally met together. It happened during a power failure in Section 7 where most refugees slept. The Valkyrie thought it was an accident. It wasn't. Min-Soo had arranged it. In the darkness, 5 shadows moved silently to the corner of the room where the Valkyrie cameras couldn't see. 1 day left, Hejun whispered. The fleet reaches Earth tomorrow. I'm ready, Sunhei said. The air system is set. I just need to trigger it. I found a way into the central spire, Jaiho added, through the waste disposal system. The Valkyrie never use it themselves. They have worker drones for that. Min-Soo nodded. I have enough materials to create 3 distractions, small explosions in the outer sections. Nothing big enough to damage the station, but enough to draw the guards away. And I can access their communication system, Ju-Won said. Not the main array, but a backup terminal. It's less protected. Hejun took a deep breath. Then we move tomorrow. Sunhide will trigger the air system at the start of morning shift. That will affect the guards in the outer rings. Min-Soo, set your distractions to go off 30 minutes later. Here, here, and here. He pointed to spots on an imaginary map that they all could picture. Jaiho and I will use the confusion to enter the central spire through the waste system. Ju-Won, you'll guide us using the backup terminal. We need to reach level 47. What about the other refugees? Sunhei asked. I've spoken with Tawu, Hejun said. He's organizing them. When the distractions start, they'll move to the shuttle bay. If we succeed, they'll have a chance to escape in the confusion. And if we fail? Ju-Won asked quietly. No one answered. They all knew what failure meant. Not just their deaths, but the possible end of the human race. We won't fail, Hejun said finally. The Valkyrie expect humans to act like soldiers. They're looking for weapons, for uniforms, for military tactics. They're not looking for 5 ordinary people using everyday objects. That's always been our advantage, Sunhei said with a small smile. Remember, Hejun said as they prepared to separate, we're not fighting as soldiers tomorrow. We're fighting as humans. Use what they don't expect. Use what they don't understand. The 5 shadows slipped away, returning to their bunks. To any watching Valkyrie, nothing had happened. Just a power failure, then darkness, then the lights returning. The guards never noticed that during those few minutes of darkness, the most dangerous humans on the station had sealed the Valkyrie's fate. Morning was coming, and with it, the uprising that would decide Earth's future. Morning arrived with the harsh buzz of the station's alarm system. Refugees rose from their beds and lined up for the day's work assignments. Ghost Team moved with them, faces blank, eyes alert. Sunhei reported to the medical bay as usual. The Valkyrie medical officer was already there, examining human blood samples. Good morning, Sunhei said politely as she began organizing medical supplies. She moved slowly toward the air filtration panel where she had hidden her powder mixture. The invasion fleet has reached the edge of Earth's moon, the Valkyrie said suddenly. By tomorrow, your world will be under our control. Sunhei kept her face calm. I see. You do not seem afraid, the Valkyrie noted. I accepted our defeat when I surrendered. Sunhei lied smoothly. I just want to help the sick now. The Valkyrie turned back to its work. Logical. Perhaps you are more like us than other humans. Sunhei waited until the alien moved to the far side of the lab. Then she quickly opened the panel, took out her powder mixture, and dumped it into the main air intake. She sealed the panel just as the Valkyrie turned around. What are you doing? It asked. Just checking for dust, Sunhei said. Some patients have been coughing. The Valkyrie seemed to accept this. It didn't notice the fine powder already being sucked into the air system, spreading through the station's outer rings where most of the guards lived and worked. Across the station, Min-Soo was mopping floors in a storage area. The Valkyrie saw cleaning as simple work for simple minds. They didn't know that Min-Su had been placing his collected materials in 3 key locations: under a sink in the kitchen, inside a broken wall panel near the power core, behind a loose tile in the refugee bathroom. Each bundle was a simple mixture: cleaning chemicals, metal filings, and wires from broken equipment. Not bombs as soldiers would make them, but simple chemical reactions that would cause enough smoke and noise to create confusion. Min-Su checked his makeshift timer, a cup of water slowly dripping onto a strip of reactive material. When enough water soaked through, the reaction would start. Simple, but effective. In the communication section, Ju-Won sat at his assigned terminal, supposedly learning how to sort Valkyrie transmission data. What he was really doing was planting a small data chip into the system. "Stand up," a Valkyrie guard ordered suddenly. Ju-Won's heart raced as he obeyed. Had they discovered him? The Valkyrie scanned him with a handheld device. "You have metal in your body." "My hearing aid," Ju-Won explained, pointing to his ear, "and a pin in my leg from an old injury." This was true, part of his cover story. The Valkyrie made a clicking sound. "Continue working." Ju-Won returned to his terminal. The data chip was already in place. Now he just had to wait. Hajun and Ji-Ho were assigned to waste disposal that morning, exactly as planned. They sorted through trash while mapping their route to the central spire. "Guards are moving slower than usual," Ji-Ho whispered. "Sun-Hee's mixture must be working." Hajun nodded. Several Valkyrie had walked past them with sluggish movements. Their multifaceted eyes seemed less alert. A loud boom suddenly echoed through the station. Then another. Then a third. Min-Su's distractions had begun. Alarms blared. Valkyrie guards ran toward the explosions. No one noticed as Hajun and Ji-Ho slipped into a maintenance tunnel that led toward the central spire. The station erupted into planned chaos. Refugees began moving toward the shuttle bay, led by Ta-Wu. Guards tried to stop them, but they were confused and slow from Sun-Hee's powder in the air system. In the control room, the Valkyrie Supreme Commander demanded reports. "What is happening?" "Find the human soldiers responsible." But there were no human soldiers to find, just scared refugees running from explosions, a medical worker helping the injured, a cleaner trying to put out fires, and a communications worker sitting very still at his station. Ju-Won activated his chip. Suddenly, all the Valkyrie communication screens showed the same message, translated into their language. "Self-destructive sequence and ITA." It wasn't true. There was no self-destruct. But the Valkyrie didn't know that. As panic spread among the aliens, Hajun and Ji-Ho reached the central spire. The entrance was guarded by 2 Valkyrie, but they were distracted by the alarms and messages on their screens. Ji-Ho picked up a simple metal pipe from a pile of human mining equipment. Not a weapon a soldier would choose, but in his hands, deadly enough. "Now," Hajun whispered. Ghost Team's final assault on the heart of the Valkyrie command had begun. With no uniforms, no military weapons, and nothing to mark them as anything other than desperate refugees, they were about to change the course of human history. The central spire of the Valkyrie command station was oddly quiet compared to the chaos in the outer rings. Hajun and Ji-Ho moved quickly through the maintenance tunnels, following the path they had memorized from Ta-Wu's map. "Level 47 should be just ahead," Ji-Ho whispered as they climbed an access ladder. They emerged into a dimly lit corridor. The walls here were different, smoother, with strange patterns that seemed to shift and move. The air felt heavier, filled with a scent like burnt metal. "This is it," Hajun said quietly. "The heart of their command." At the end of the corridor stood a massive door. 2 Valkyrie guards stood before it, their posture alert despite the alarms blaring throughout the station. "We need a distraction," Ji-Ho said. Hajun reached into his pocket and pulled out a small packet of medicine Sun-Hee had given him. Simple headache pills, crushed into powder. He opened the packet and blew the powder toward a ventilation grate in the ceiling. The fine dust was sucked into the system, spreading quickly through the local air supply. Within moments, the Valkyrie guards began to sway slightly. Their breathing became labored. Then one collapsed, followed quickly by the second. "Hurry," Hejun said. "That won't keep them down for long." They approached the door, which was sealed with an alien locking mechanism. Jiho examined it closely. "I can't hack this," he admitted. "We don't need to," Hejun replied. He pulled out a small data pad he had taken from Tawu. "This has the access codes." The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was the quantum communications array, the heart of the Valkyrie battle network. The room was circular, with a glowing central column surrounded by control panels. 3 Valkyrie technicians turned in surprise as the humans entered. Before they could react, Hejun threw more of Sunhee's powder into the air. The Valkyrie staggered, their movements becoming uncoordinated. Jiho rushed forward with his metal pipe, striking with precise force at the spots Tawu had identified as Valkyrie weak points. The aliens fell without raising the alarm. "We have minutes at most," Hejun said, moving to the main control panel. "The powder won't affect them for long." Jiho stood guard by the door while Hejun inserted Tawu's data chip into the alien system. The screens flickered, then changed to show human text. "Taiwu was right," Hejun said with a grim smile. "They've been using our technology to help control their systems. That's why his codes work." Hejun's fingers flew across the panel. He wasn't a hacker like Juwon, but Tawu had given him simple instructions. "Enter these commands. Bypass these systems. Change these settings." Throughout the station, Valkyrie ships were receiving new orders. "Turn back from Earth. Return to home system. Disregard all previous commands." "Is it working?" Jiho asked anxiously. "I think so," Hejun replied. Then his face fell. "But they'll be able to override it once they realize what's happened." "Then we need something more permanent," Jiho said. He looked at the glowing central column. "What about that?" The quantum communications array was the most advanced piece of technology either of them had ever seen. It pulsed with energy, casting strange shadows around the room. "If we destroy it, we might destroy the whole station," Hejun warned. "Do we have a choice?" Before Hejun could answer, the door slid open. The Valkyrie Supreme Commander stood there, flanked by guards. Its armor was more elaborate than the others, with glowing symbols etched across its surface. "Humans," it said through its translator. "You have no weapons. You wear no uniforms. How did you get here?" "That's the point," Hejun replied calmly. "You were looking for soldiers. We're not soldiers." While they talked, Jiho had moved slowly toward a panel near the quantum array. In his hand was a simple metal tool he had taken from the work area. Not a weapon, just a crowbar used for opening supply crates. "You are technicians, engineers?" the Valkyrie commander asked, confused. "We're Ghost Team," Hejun said. Jiho jammed the crowbar into the control panel and pulled with all his strength. Sparks flew as the panel tore free. The quantum array began to pulse faster, its glow becoming painfully bright. Alarms blared with new urgency. A voice spoke in the Valkyrie language, then in translated human speech. "Critical system failure. Quantum collapse imminent. Run," Hejun shouted. They pushed past the surprised Valkyrie and sprinted down the corridor. Behind them, the quantum array's light became blinding. Throughout the station, humans were already boarding the shuttlecraft. Sunhai, Min-Su, and Ju-Won had done their jobs perfectly. Most of the refugees would escape. As Ghost Team reached the shuttle bay, the station began to shake. The Valkyrie fleet, receiving contradictory orders, had fallen into confusion. Some ships were turning away from Earth. Others were trying to return to help the command station. None of them would arrive in time. The last shuttle launched just as the quantum array collapsed. The Valkyrie command station, their most advanced military installation, disappeared in a flash of impossible light. Earth was saved. Not by soldiers with advanced weapons and uniforms, but by 5 people who looked like everyone else. That's why, to this day, no one knows what a human special forces uniform looks like, because the most dangerous humans don't wear one at all.